There are certain sounds that remind you of your holidays. The sound of the water, it's just mesmeric. You think, where's that coming from? The answer is here, Aber Falls. It's a lovely sound and it's a spectacular view. Squillions of people here on a lovely sunny day, and they're all going, wow, look at that, I wonder how high that is. And the answer is, it's really high. Guess where I am? Oh, don't read the answer. I'm in Llanfairfechan on the North Wales coast. It's been here on my holidays when I was 6 years old with my family. We came on the train, stayed at a B&B just along front over here. And see these lovely groins? Well, there's a photo at home of me sitting on that, pretending it's my train. And the reason I pretended it was a train is because these are actual old railway lines. Now the thing about Llanfairfechan is this great big mountain up on the top up here. This is the quarry. And what they quarry there is the stones that they make all British motorways from. So every time you drive anywhere, just think about what you're driving over. You're driving over that mountain. Everything about Llanfairfechan is exactly the same, apart from the things that are different. I remember, for instance, there was sand here once upon a time. And when the tide goes out, apparently you can walk all the way to Anglesey, but I don't really believe that. Anyway, it's lovely being back again. It's a lovely, quiet little spot by the beach. This is a fantastic, world-class coastline. You can hardly hear anything except the noise of the waves crashing beneath us. Aha! I heard a beep. This is the Beep Beep Tunnel, built in 1932. And drivers, as they're coming through here, beep their horns as a tribute to those who died while it was being built. I think that's really rather special. Well, beep your horn then! Here's a big crow flying up to the Great Orme, the monstrous big mountain that sits behind Llandudno. Down here is that beautiful pier, one of the loveliest piers in Britain. There's the little Orme. One of the things I wanted to look at here was how to paint those jagged rocks there and this bright sunlight. This is what I've done in my sketchbook. Just put tiniest hints, some clouds in the distance there, and then these jagged rocks. Yep. I did a pencil sketch with colour added, and then this, the finished piece. Yes! I'm on the River Conwy in North Wales, and here's one of the iconic views of the great castles of Edward I. The reason I've come to this particular spot is because I'm in search of artists' inspiration. Joseph Turner came and visited Conwy the early years of the 19th century, 1800s. And instead of choosing probably the more famous view on the other side with all the towers, he came round the back here. Here's his painting. Those are the towers. Straight above there they are. Look again, you see the tall towers which are poking above the parapet. Well, there they are again. Now what of course is different is the railway bridge that was only built much later. That means that Joseph Turner stood right here, yeah, on the edge of the river. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's the view, and this is what I've painted. Okay, in my sketch I've included the strong shadows coming across here, and I have accentuated the darkened windows. Turner didn't. He left those out. Maybe they just weren't as dramatic as they are today. But one thing I have included is the vapor trail. And I wonder what he would choose today if he was here now. Would he choose this view or would he go the other side? One of the things I'm surprised about is finding this image and finding his exact position. Well, what gives it away for me is this little bridge down here, and there's the little bridge. Now come up from the little bridge and you get these towers, and there they are. The issue here, of course, is that the railway doesn't exist in Turner's time, but that bridge does. And there he is, he's painted it. So the answer is he stood along the banks of this little stream here and painted it. You can see here, this is an industrial area that's been cleared. So since Turner's time, there have been buildings here, then they've been demolished. And so things change, everything changes. What a view. This is where our boy should have come. He should have stepped along here, down to the water's edge, and turned around and looked at the castle this way. Because this is clearly the best view of it, with that lovely light and shade. And then even the railway bridge has a bit of style about it. And in the foreground, of course, you've got the town walls. That's my favourite view of Conwy. It's lovely. And that's what I painted of Conwy Castle. I'm at a special little spot on the North Wales coast. I'm in Colwyn Bay, and I've stopped here. See, I've even got the wrong place. I'm actually at Rhos on Sea. Thank heavens was somebody here to tell me where I am. But the important thing is, I'm at the smallest chapel in Britain. Come and see. It's dedicated to Saint Trillo, a 6th century Welsh saint. Saint Trillo, not Saint Brillo. And 1500 years ago, he lived here by the sea in this tiny little chapel with room for 6 people. Come inside. Go in. Boom! Shh, come in. 6 little stools here for the congregation. Lovely low arch. Underneath the altar, there's St. Trillo's well, and that's where he would have got his fresh water from. Now, as it's Remembrance Weekend, I'm going to have a little Martin Mallet moment for my Baba. Okay, I was carrying you with me on my adventures, Martin, and I'm going to put you right here with St. Trillo. You and me, my Baba. Reach our potential. Brilliant. And a special prayer for all pilgrims who come to St. Trillo's in Rhos on Sea. It's lovely to be somewhere so special. The tiniest chapel in Britain. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Everybody can count. It's extraordinary. 3, 2, 1, here we go. Backflip train coming out. Well, I could do that, but I'm a little busy. This is my favourite bit of beach on the way to Prestatyn, because you can do this. Whee! And then you can come up. Yeah! I love this. This is a beautiful afternoon. The sun is shining, and I'm coming up on 40 miles. I'm thinking how nice this is. Well, introduce yourself, Rob.
I'm Rob from the Bike Club in Rhyl.
He reckons he knows the way. Well, he says he knows the way. Who knows? Down you go then. Are you going to go onto the sand?
Yes.
Go on then. This will be funny. You'll get stuck and bogged down in the sand now. I'm at something rather unusual here. This is the Lourdes of Wales, St Winifred's Well and Chapel. Now, St Winifred lived in the 7th century. She was a fair, beautiful, gorgeous maiden, and of course there's some scumbag who wanted to have his evil way with her. So she fled from his clutches to the church, but as she reached there, he caught her up and chopped off her head. And that's where the story should end, except it doesn't, because the priest heard a massive thunderclap, an enormous earthquake, dashed out to discover the poor dead Winifred and restored her head to her body with the waters from the new gushing spring. And that well is here today. This is what it looks like. Still flowing all the time. There's something rather special about this, and outside here is where you can bathe in the waters of St Winifred's Well. All sorts of miracles have been attributed to St Winifred, and when you look at these pillars here with their little pieces of graffiti, and you realise people have been coming here, well, for millennia, to carve their name, take the water, say a prayer to St Winifred, and give thanks for something really rather special. It's by the side of a road in Holywell in Flintshire. Yeah, and I'm really glad I came here. I've got my water bottle. Shrine water is here. Now that's got to be a good thing, surely, for a cyclist. I rather like this idea. I've got a Brother Martin name tag here. I think I've found the place for it. Just underneath. That's it. There you go. Ma baba. On my adventures, I love coming to castles, which is just as well because I'm at one right here. Yeah! This is Flint Castle. It's one of the great bastions of defence built by King Edward I. Put it up in 7 years. Whoa, bosh, there it is. This would have been a moat around here. Would have been a fabulous fortress. And coming through this gate, you've got lovely views out across the River Dee to the Wirral. And great events in history have happened here. One in particular I want to bring your attention to, and that is August 1399. There's a meeting here between a king and a would-be rival. So, Richard II's on the throne. Pay attention here, here's your history. And he is the grandson of Edward III. He's also the son of the Black Prince, who died of dysentery, so Richard got the gig as a teenager. Now, as a teenager, he did something really spectacular. He faced down the rebels at the Peasants' Revolt, Wat Tyler. Personally stood there face to face and answered their questions and dealt with it in a personal, magnetic manner, which I think, for me, gives him big brownie points. And then, sadly, it all went completely pear-shaped. He went completely nuts. And started ruling like a dictator and deciding that he wouldn't trust anybody at all. Not a good thing to do, you know. If you're going to be king, take advice from other people, because there are always going to be others with a good idea. So by the time 1399 rolls around and he's been on the throne for a few years, nobody really likes him. And then he did something completely bonkers. He seized the lands of his cousin Henry Bolingbroke, who was also in line to the throne. They'd been playmates together, you know, as kids. And so Henry says, "Oi, hang on, I'm not having that, thank you very much." Raises an army and they meet here at Flint Castle in August 1399. Right, one is king, age 32, the other is his cousin, age 31, and it would have been a little bit awkward. Okay, so I've got no support and you've got all the army. In that case, here you go. Here's the throne, here's my crown. And Richard is taken back to London as a prisoner, where he is starved to death. Oh, gruesome. Yuck. And Henry goes on to become Henry IV Part 1 and Part 2 in Shakespeare, and becomes a big hero. There you go. So the moral of the story is, if you want to be king or ruler or in charge of anything at all, get on with people. And by the way, if you ever, as a king, go to a castle, make sure that when your cousin turns up for tea, he doesn't bring an army with him. I love this, a signpost in the landscape. Behind me is Wales and ahead of me is England. How do I know this? Well, that looks a little cloudy and that looks a little sunny. But there's something else too. In this big, wide, flat landscape, there's a signpost. Welcome to England, Cheshire West and Chester. And on this side, Flintshire! Yay! Thank you to the good people of Wales for making me so welcome. Honestly, Wales is just utterly gorgeous. Thank you for your kindness and your generosity for making me so welcome. I've loved every minute in Wales. It's utterly, utterly brilliant. Now today, I'm going to pedal around the Wirral, leave the landscape of this area and go around to Ferry, cross the Mersey, 'cause this land's the place I love, and here I'll pedal. I said pedal. Listen closer.